Namaste Uno Coiners. Welcome back to another AMA session. I am your host Suhasini Burli, and today we are going to talk about what a roller coaster this year has been. So, today joining us is Mr. Sunny, co founder and president of Uno Coin. Hi Sunny, how are you doing?
I'm well, Suhasini. How are you?
I am doing great. The market has been showing a lot of hope lately, and it's getting more and more interesting. I have joined this year, and this year itself was such a power pack masaledar year. So I am super interested to know your view. How did you like this year for our crypto?
Well, like you said, it's definitely been a roller coaster, a lot of ups, a lot of downs. I would say from like a just overall development perspective, it's been an exciting year. I would say, with the development in the United States, with the, people right at the top talking about Bitcoin, becoming our biggest advocates, to looking at pubcos like Michael Saylor making big, big, big moves. Then you have the Black Rocks. I mean, we're going to get into it, but I think, especially on the United States front, there's been a lot of exciting developments, and I think the world is now finally starting to take notice.
Definitely, as you have been telling about, what the states is doing. Apart from that, couple of other countries as well. I make the daily news, so I'm in touch with the entire world lately. So everybody is just opening big doors and welcoming crypto. So that's definitely a good news for all of us. So today I would like to know more about what the big swings that Bitcoin has done and how AI has been growing. AI I think has been a huge part this year 2025, and I know that is your favorite topic. So could you tell us more about that?
Oh, definitely. I think AI took a front stage this year with a lot of the exciting developments, and the world has, also woken up to this new revolution. I'd say, Bitcoin, what came about now, I think Bitcoin is 16 years old. Oh, by the way, UnoCoin is 12, right? As of last week. So
Happy
if people don't
anniversary to
know,
us.
that was very exciting. And yeah, and I think, AI just kind of almost came out of nowhere. It felt like a couple of years ago with ChatGPT, and has taken the world by storm. And I think it's exciting. I think there's a lot of, there's a lot of fear. People talk about all the bad things about Bitcoin, AI, and how it's gonna, ruin the world. I obviously I'm a bit skeptical, and I try not to, get too excited. But at the same time, to me, AI feels a lot like the way Bitcoin did back in 2012, 2013. I see a world with infinite potential. And nowadays, I don't know if you're listening to guys like Elon Musk. He's talking about how, what is it, not universal basic income, but universal high income, and perhaps the alleviation of poverty, and big things, right? Where now you start to mix AI with robotics, and then couple that with Bitcoin and all the exciting developments. I think, I don't know, I've got my popcorn out. I'm excited about the future.
No, no,
2026
I could
2026 is
see
going to
your
be
eyes
awesome.
have that, spark when I said the word AI. You were instantly like, I'm here.
And that's tough considering I just rolled out of bed 15 minutes ago.
So, to all the Uno coiners who have joined us today, please feel free to, put your little questions in that comment box. So, this session is for you guys. आपके पास जो भी questions है, हम answer करेंगे. And our topic expert, Mr. Sunny, is here. So, please feel free to drop in your questions. I will be the first person to ask the exciting question today. So, as our topic is today, if you have missed this year 2025, what has happened in the crypto market, this AMA is for you. So let's start with a mini recap for this year. So what do you think, like how did the world treat crypto this year, and according to you, what stood out the most so far?
Ooh, I mean, one thing obviously, I'm really, really excited about, just in general. And I was lucky enough, Suhashini, to attend the Bitcoin Nashville conference, which happened, I want to say, almost a year or two ago, where Donald Trump, came on stage in front of, I don't know, 20, 30,000 Bitcoiners, and made the announcement that, if he became president, he would try and put Bitcoin on as a reserve asset for the United States. To me, this is like almost unbelievable. It's insane. I think anybody who got into Bitcoin, back in the day, just this thought wouldn't have even crossed their mind, because it's such a huge development. So to me, that strikes me. Now you could also flip it and say that's also been perhaps one of the most negative things, because there's this like overhang anticipation where everybody's like, okay, it's gonna happen, they're gonna make an announcement, they're gonna start buying Bitcoin, but they haven't. So there's a lot of nuance there. I'm not too surprised by the delays. I mean, after all, this is like a government matter, and there's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of decision makers. But to me, just the fact that we're even living in a world where people are talking about that, and that where Bitcoin could potentially become maybe an international reserve asset, right? Is awesome. Yeah, that's I probably can't think of anything more exciting. But if I had to, like I said, I think just the development on the corporate side, right, with public companies now starting to, there's been a big pullback, obviously, in the last 3-4 months with MicroStrategy and companies like that. But I think that trend is, I don't know, overall, again, a very positive one. I do think Bitcoin is the new hurdle rate, and more and more companies are waking up to it. So again, I'm excited. I know the price didn't go perhaps the way more people wanted it to, but we can talk about that too as well. I think there's something there.
Okay, with the word prize, we have Crypto Trailblazers here. Welcome. They have a question for you. Hi, Sunny. Is any chance of Bitcoin going down to 50K? Is their question.
Absolutely. I mean, look, at the end of the day, Bitcoin is the price of Bitcoin, or the price of anything, is a function of two things, right? Which is buying and selling. So if more people sell Bitcoin than buy, we could definitely go down to $50,000. So I'm not, I don't know. I'm also not of the mindset to try and predict short term what's going to happen to Bitcoin. I equate that to trying to like triangulate the position of an atom inside of a glass of water. It's like, it's impossible, right? But if you say, hey, if I'm heating up this water at X degrees Celsius, for so much time, what might the temperature of the water be 10 minutes from now? I can predict that. So I find predicting Bitcoin prices longer term is like that. Longer term, it's obvious, number go up. But short term, anything can happen. Sentiment changes. We've seen the FTXs of the world, the Mt. Goxes of the world. I mean, we've lived through everything. And so, it's tough to make, I think, short term predictions. Could it go down to 50K? Absolutely. I think if it did, that would obviously present a buying opportunity, in my view, right? If you think Bitcoin is going to the moon, I mean, this year, even Michael Saylor made predictions along the lines of the Bitcoin could go to $25 million of Bitcoin, $50 million of Bitcoin, not today, but, over the next decade or two. And so, I gotta admit though, like, I am even more bullish today about Bitcoin than I was, 10 years ago. So anybody out there who wants to know my sentiment, I'm definitely, I think this is a great time to be alive. And like I said, I think all of us will look back when we're old and gray and say, oh my God, we were alive during that time when Bitcoin was only $50,000, $100,000.
Okay, so UnoCoin, we have been in this market for over a decade, and crypto as well has been in this for over a decade. So definitely you are an expert. So I would like to know, what do you think were the key factors, that made crypto market this year?
I mean, first I'll just comment on the expert thing. I guess 12 years or whatever, 14, 13 years in Bitcoin, but I still would hesitate to call myself an expert. I
Okay,
think
as a crypto enthusiast,
enthusiast. I
as
like
a crypto
enthusiast.
enthusiast.
Expert. As soon as I hear the word expert, I cringe a bit, because I don't know. I
Okay,
mean, to me,
I will
that
take that back as an
no, I
enthusiast.
appreciate the compliment, but when I think about myself as an expert, I'm thinking, no, there's way too much to know
No,
about
there's
Bitcoin.
definitely so much to learn from you. So definitely for me, you are an expert in that
Sure,
topic.
sure, I'll take it. So what was the question? So what have been the developments in crypto, would you say? Like,
No, no.
aside from
What do you think were the key factors? Like, we know a lot of developments happen. So what do you think were the key factors? Like what gave the push, or what's, sparked that fire? Crypto
Well, I
being.
think the spark well, I think the spark actually came before this year. I think this one of the big sparks was essentially the developments in a country called El Salvador. I remember 2 or 3 years ago when Bukele, the new president, came in and made these, bombastic kind of announcements around, hey, we're gonna start, aping into Bitcoin. To me, that was like, in fact, at the beginning of that year, I like almost cheekily predicted that that might happen, but it was more just like a wish than an actual prediction, and it came true. And so that to me was massive, because I think it opened the door for other countries to think about Bitcoin as like a serious currency, and also the fact that I think Bukele's been doing a lot of exciting things. Right, you touched on AI earlier. There was an announcement earlier this week where Elon Musk and Bukele said that every student in El Salvador will be getting access to Grok to learn. Right, I think they're just thinking, in my view, differently. They're thinking like it kind of living in the future almost. They're preparing their citizens for what's to come. But yeah, I think AI has been just an overall from a technological development that's been massive. And I do think that, and I've been blogging about this on my own website, sunnyray.com, about kind of this interplay between AI and Bitcoin, which I find fascinating. In fact, there's this guy named Jason Lowery. If you haven't, started following him, check him out on Twitter. He's really, really interesting. He's, a bit mysterious and not always like kind of tweeting and stuff like that, but he writes really, really prolifically. And my hunch is that the United States government is like almost consulting with him and talking to him. But he speaks a lot about how, a lot of the fears that we have around AI, where bad guys could use AI to hack us and this and that, can actually be prevented by things like Bitcoin, right? So
Hmm.
I don't know. I think it's very interesting, because again, AI creates this like world of abundance, yet Bitcoin is this like scarce form of money, which I believe also brings about abundance, right? Ironically, and so yeah, I think these two things will be playing against each other. Crypto. I think crypto has struggled overall, I would say, against Bitcoin, right? If you look at just like prices, I would say crypto's definitely been more volatile. It's been, and usually what happens, like we've been through, we've lived through now so many of these bull bear runs, and I would say Bitcoin usually kind of leads the dance, and the others follow. And so the fact that, Bitcoin did, if I'm not mistaken, did we hit the all-time high this year?
I think we did. I think we did. I think we did.
I'm trying to remember. I'm kind of losing. I thought maybe last December around this time, I think we might have hit kind of an all-time high. What was it, like
Yeah,
$125,000,
yeah, yeah.
right?
2025.
So it's
Yes.
come down, quite a bit since then. So I think a lot of people. But maybe I'll comment on this, is that one thing I did notice is that almost everybody I know this year was bullish on Bitcoin. Like everybody was expecting Bitcoin to blow through
Absolutely. Yes.
200K. It's going to a million, this, that. Um, and whenever everybody is saying the same thing, I always kind of pause and ask myself, like, could that really be true? If everybody is thinking that this is going to happen, maybe that information is priced in already, right? Maybe people have already kind of made their decisions based on these developments. So I did, kind of approach this year with a bit of caution. I didn't expect it to do exactly what people think, and the Bitcoin is also subject to this like quantum phenomenon, where it's like whatever you expect Bitcoin to do, it'll do the opposite. So this
Opposite.
year, my buddy tweeted yesterday. He was like, "Go up, go down, just do something, but don't move sideways." And I was like, just the fact that you want it to move up and move down is why it'll move sideways, because Bitcoin is defiant. If there's only one constant, I would say Bitcoin doesn't listen to anybody. It doesn't care about anybody. It's like this machine, this clock that just
It's the
keeps
boss.
running with or without us. Yeah, it's the boss. Like I've got a little 1-year-old at home, and you can tell him what to do, and you can try, but it's not going to
Not
work.
gonna
He's just
listen.
going to do his own thing.
I mean, we change our schedule, we fix our timings for them. So it basically
Exactly.
is that.
Exactly. So the exciting thing about Bitcoin not, going to 2 million, we still have time, right? I think when Bitcoin does rip like that, I think a lot of people also get priced out, right? They feel like, oh, I can't afford $1 million for Bitcoin. And a lot of people think you have to buy one Bitcoin. So, it kind of works against itself as well. And so I think this up and down all around is good. It's healthy, and volatility is what does Michael Saylor say? Volatility is vitality. So I'm here for it.
Awesome. Okay. So we have another viewer here, Dreamy Dreamer. Hello. They're asking, do you think institutional players or Trump involved in the market dump to accumulate more BTC and Ethereum?
What's the question? So do you think institutional players or Trump involved in market dump to accumulate? I don't have proof. I don't have proof of this, but is the overall question, are institutional players maybe doing some funny business to try and scare
Yeah.
retail out of the market and position themselves and their whales to be able to buy more Bitcoin at a lower price? I wouldn't put
Maybe.
it. I wouldn't say no, right? And so this is more reason, I think, for the average person to kind of do a bit more research and learn more about Bitcoin and build their kind of conviction and resolve, because yeah, every time Bitcoin is volatile, and we've seen that it's been volatile. Is it going to pull back 80% like we've seen in other bear markets? I don't think so. I'm kind of buying this thesis around how we're beyond this like 4-year cycle, this 4-year cycle where we've always kind
Yeah,
of gone
good.
up and down. I kind of buy this idea that we're in a different kind of phase now, and I say that because of these and it's not even like, oh, tens of thousands of companies are now aping into Bitcoin. It's just a handful, but the
Yeah.
fact that I mean, if you look at the numbers, it's astronomical. Like, I mean, look at Michael Saylor and how many Bitcoin that guy is buying. What is it? Like 10,000 BTC now he's averaging a week, every 2 weeks. I mean, he made a claim, I think this week, saying that they might, now that they've passed 3%, they're targeting 7% of all the Bitcoin. One company
That's
is
more
planning
than double of what.
to gobble up all of the Bitcoin. Is crazy. And then you've got mining, right? The fact that mining now, the issuance schedule has halved, so there's less Bitcoin coming out. So to me, MicroStrategy almost presents another mining like event where they're just attacking supply, and as you remove supply from the market and demand continues to increase, what happens to the price of Bitcoin? I mean, there's only 21 million Bitcoin, right? And then earlier this week, I did a podcast with a buddy of mine, Rajat Soni, and he pulled up a chart showing essentially the number of Bitcoin that have been lost. That's another, I think 5 to 7%. So you look at this and you realize that, oh my God, there's not 21 million Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying?
Not
There's only
anymore.
maybe 15 or something, or maybe 10, for retail to go around. And so when you look at this supply shock and what's happening, I think, again, I hate making short-term predictions, but I think 2026 might be one of those like situations where your face falls off. Because it goes so crazy. Yeah. So, but don't, I'm not an expert. I'm not your financial advisor. And I've been loving this whole Bitcoin journey, right, since 2012, 2013. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. Do your own research, obviously, but yeah, I think again, Bitcoin is the signal. I think a question we get a lot at UnoCoin is, what's the next Bitcoin? And the one thing I keep saying is Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. so if that's another question that you're thinking about,
I read that somewhere, and I absolutely loved that.
yeah. Yeah, and I think most people who've listened to me speak in the past know that, we at UnoCoin, our mission is to bring Bitcoin to billions, and that's why we started the company. And yes, we obviously we're a crypto exchange, and we support other crypto assets. But for us, the North Star, or for me, it's Bitcoin. It always has been. It always will be. And yeah, I just I'm all about it.
Awesome. So Dreamy Dreamer has another question. Will
Sure.
Bull Run happen in 2026 or 27? As Sunny told, there's no predictions going to happen over here. Do your own research and hopes.
Yeah, and if it happens, awesome. Because if you've been,
Awesome. Definitely. We
dollar
all
cost
have been waiting
averaging,
for it.
but if it doesn't, guess what? You've got time now to go out there and start that business you've always wanted to, or get that side hustle, or whatever, buy less chai or whatever you need to do from Starbucks, and start stacking more sats, because
Yes.
that just means that the window of opportunity is still there. I saw something interesting recently as well, that supposedly people who check the price of Bitcoin, or any stock for that matter, end up performing far worse than people who just work. And people who just focus on like adding value and learning, and
Okay.
and that's, I think, and that's been my approach to Bitcoin, is less on the price. And the funny thing is, the protocol has no reference to the price. If you're sitting inside of the Bitcoin protocol and looking out, there is no price. The price is essentially determined, like I said, by buyers and sellers, by people who are going, oh my God, I read this news and Bitcoin's going to go to zero, so I'm selling, or oh, Bitcoin's going to the moon, I'm buying. So it's literally just a function of people buying and selling. And so the Bitcoin network, the Bitcoin code, the Bitcoin idea is so interesting and exciting. And my suggestion would be just learn about it, read about it. And now there's infinite amount of material. People like you and UnoCoin, we put out lots of stuff, but you don't have to just depend on us. You've got YouTube and Twitter and Reddit and all these great places to just learn. And so if you're still feeling like, I don't know what's going to happen, my suggestion would be put your focus towards learning and mastering Bitcoin, and then going out and building on top of Bitcoin. Look, UnoCoin is a prime example, where Satvik, Harish, and myself and Abhi, we met many, many years ago, and we just looked at Bitcoin and we said, oh my God, this is so beautiful. This is so amazing. How do we build on top of this? And UnoCoin is a company that essentially is built on top of Bitcoin. And you could do the same thing. You could run your own mining operation. You could do a consulting thing. You could build a wallet. I don't know, whatever it is you can think of, you can do. And you don't need to ask anyone for permission.
I hope all of you have got a couple of ideas about what to do based on what Sunny has told us right now. So, coming back to our topic, Sunny, I am a little interested to talk about this. In India, a couple of, the Madras court case happened, and there is a topic on the ARC token right now. So, talking about regulation, I mean, regulation has, been a very big point in India from like a very long time. So, do you think 25 brought any real regulation clarity for the Indian users?
I mean, if we just step back a little bit and look at where India is today, let's say compared to 10 years ago, obviously there's been a tremendous amount of progress and development, right? I know it's easy to be kind of negative and say, oh, it's not moving fast enough and this and that. But when you look at kind of like the longer arc of time, I think I'm actually quite excited about the overall trend. In our view, I would say there's maybe like 5 regulatory pillars, right? There's things like AML KYC, that used to be, kind of optional back in the day. Not optional, but it was something that a business would decide to do or not. Today it's mandatory, right? And the FIU body is now up and running, and it's got a big say in how, crypto exchanges operate. So I think, for better or worse, but if you're looking at like institutional adoption and high net worth individuals and home offices, I mean, I think that does matter. Then if you look at kind of like around the RBI and the situation that occurred, with the Supreme Court case back in 2020. I think that gave resolution or some clarity around, banking and what are the laws or what are the rules around that. I think there's clarity around that, obviously thanks to our team members like Harish, who fought the good fight. And
Yes.
I think a lot of people don't know that Uno Coin was, a big part of that victory, and more specifically, I think Harish and Satvik deserve a lot of credit. Then, if you look at taxation, right, this has been a bit of a double-edged sword, I would
Yes.
say, right? But taxation has been both good and bad, right? Like I'd say, it's been good in the sense that a lot of people, when there's some sort of like taxation regime in place, they go, oh, this is more legitimate. This government actually recognizes that this industry exists. So from that perspective, I would say it's a positive. But then if you look at it from the user's perspective, which is always, very important, it's
Yes.
maybe not as exciting, because every time you touch crypto, you buy, sell, do anything, you're charged this 1% TDS, which is very, very onerous. And our very own, CEO Satvik goes and tweets about it almost every day. I think he's on day 1,000 something, which is means like what, 3 years. He's been tweeting about this like taxation and how it's not fair, and how the government obviously needs to revisit it, and
Mhm.
put in a regime that is a lot more favorable towards the user, so that people don't leave the country and try and work with international exchanges, and try and like work with P2P and all this other stuff that
Mhm.
people try. um I think it works against the industry. So those are some areas where I think there's been developments, but the big pink elephant in the room is the United States, right? Like, I mean, how
Oh,
can
yes.
you
Yes.
ignore the US? You look at the sorry, what did you say?
No, I was curious. I was like, who's the big pink elephant in the room? And you
Well,
said
to
it's
me,
the state. I was
I
like,
think it's
yes.
important. And again, why am I referencing it in reference to India? Obviously, people will say, "Oh, India is different. India is separate. India does its own thing," which I agree. India will do its own thing. India is independent. However, there's a reason that the world runs on the US dollar as a reserve currency, right? The US is the biggest market in the world. They spend the most amount of money. They have the biggest military, and they have, not just hard power, they have soft power. And I mean, the United States is I would say, kind of like a beacon of hope as well, right? And of innovation. And so, and most importantly, they are an ally. They are one of India's and its closest allies, right? US and India are friends. They're both democracies. They're both English speaking. They're both, whereas you have like kind of like an aging population in North America, you have a very youthful and young population in India, which complements, I would say,
Yeah.
that, right? You look at, you look at like culturally, I mean, you look at so many different angles, right? Like a lot of the CEOs of some of the top companies, I'm thinking about Google, Sundar Pichai, or no, Sundar Pichai. You've got Satya Nadella running Microsoft. I mean, these things didn't exist when I was growing up. And so my I have two daughters as well, and they're growing up. Their mom is from Colombia, so my wife's from Colombia, and I'm of Indian descent, even though I was born in Canada. And they kind of said something to me this week. I don't even know if I should mention it, but they they said sometimes they struggle to feel proud of their Indian background, right?
Okay.
And I said, really? I'm like, I didn't know that. I'm like, so, I didn't want to be like upset or whatever, but I tried to
Mhm.
ask them about why. And I'm like, and then I started going down this like kind of this road of saying, hey, like, Indian people are crushing it. Like, if you look at North American homes, do you know the wealthiest homes are Indian families? Did you
Hmm.
know that? Right? So you look at the president, like the CEOs of these top companies, they're Indian people, right? Indian food, right? Indian food is like
Awesome.
adored by everyone. You look at Bollywood and the impact it's had, and on and on and on. And so I take that more as maybe a criticism towards me, that I don't do a good enough job hyping up, the India side. But I feel like I do that so much on podcasts and stuff like that I kind of maybe forget to do it at home. But it was like a reminder to me as well that, what, like, guys, we need to make a trip out to India soon.
Oh yeah, we will definitely be happy to hear. Please plan that soon.
Yeah, no, I think it's time. I think it's time for sure. But no, I mean, just on a personal note, though, I think everyone knows, is very, very bullish on the Indian market. I think, just to speak a little bit more about it. So, I know the question was more on regulations. I touched on that a little bit, but regulations can get a bit boring to talk about. But I do get it. But when I think about India and the Indian people and the diaspora and the country as a whole, I personally believe that Bitcoin and India are like a arranged marriage waiting to happen. Like it's inevitable in my view, right? Again, when you look at the number of people that can appreciate, for example, what do they call Bitcoin? They call it digital gold.
Digital gold,
Did
yes.
you know that Indian women own more gold than the United States government?
Yes, yes,
Probably
yes.
you do know that. Okay, you're like, yeah, that one I know.
All the mamas love gold.
Right, so to me it starts there. You look at to really appreciate Bitcoin, I think it helps to be an early adopter, to have a bit of technical background. What country has more super nerds, and I mean that in a positive way, than India, right? We've got
Yes,
IT engineers, and you walk into an engineering university, it's not like here where it's 95% men and 5% women. It's actually kind of even almost, right?
yes.
And then you look at what country has more young people than India? Nobody,
India.
right? India has so many young people. I think 25% of the population is under the age of 25, which is just like crazy to think, right? Another area where I think Bitcoin will play a big role is remittance. Well, what's the biggest inward remitter in the world? More people, Indian people, send back money back home than any other country in the world. So you take digital gold, the youth, the fact that it's a democracy, it's an English-speaking country, it's an ally of the United States, it's so many of these things that, to me, I feel like that regulatory wise, it might not follow exactly what's happening in the US, but I think to
But
say
they're
that,
definitely adapting.
yeah, I think to say that, like, look, we obviously we can't talk about the stuff that goes on kind of behind the scenes, but I can assure everyone that the Indian government is very much aware of the developments that are taking place in the world. And it's not just India, right? Like, even, like, let's say Russia, which might not be the best example, but they've recently come out and said, oh, there's no way you can ban Bitcoin, so we're going to start regulating it and introducing it as well. And so I think for more and more people, and people within government, outside of government, are realizing that Bitcoin is the future. And then, it's like a bit of a load off of our chest. Before, it was me and Satvik and a handful of people around the world telling the whole world, oh, this Bitcoin thing is awesome. And it's very easy to dismiss that, right? I mean, but when you have, like I said, the president of the
Large
US, when
number.
you have public companies, when you have BlackRock, if you were to put all the countries in order, it would be US, China, and then BlackRock. BlackRock is that big, right? So the fact that Larry Fink is now my Bitcoin buddy, I haven't seen him or met him ever, but if I saw him at a conference, I'd probably give him a fist bump. And so the fact that these guys are now our biggest advocates, I'm not gonna lie, I feel a big load off my chest, and I feel that the future is bright.
More hopeful. Yes, definitely very bright.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I would like to get a quick lesson out of this year. So, in a couple of days, we have Christmas and we have New Year, and then it's soon going to be 2026. So, what would you tell every crypto investor as a small little lesson or a advice to carry towards the new year? Like, what mistakes to not repeat and everything?
Okay, it might be a bit, what's the word, counterintuitive, but I mean, you asked me, so I'm going to say it. And it's not going to be like, oh, you need to use this like trading pattern or this and that. I mean, when it comes to Bitcoin specifically, I've always had, a very similar message, which is dollar cost average. If you're an average person, don't try and become a trader. buy and hold. It's been proven. Adam Back, who's one of my favorite people in the Bitcoin space, you should give him a follow if you haven't. Says that, you know, these Bitcoin gains, right? Most of it happens in about 12 days out of the year. So if you're sitting on the sidelines thinking, oh, I'll invest, I'll put money into Bitcoin and I'll time the markets, well, what are the odds you're going to get one of those 12 days, right? It's very low. So the key is just to be in the market and to have exposure. And the best way I found to do that is to dollar cost average into Bitcoin. Maybe it's 10 rupees a month, maybe it's 100, maybe it's 1,000, like whatever, makes sense for you. I would, dollar cost average into Bitcoin. And the beauty of that strategy is that I know it sounds a bit boring. It's like, oh, just dollar cost average, same message over and over again. But do the math. Like when we look at our customer base and we see, oh, the people who dollar cost average, they tend to do a lot better than the people who are like sitting on the edge of their seat and selling their Bitcoin at the low and then buying back at the high and doing all this crazy stuff. I would suggest divorce yourself from emotion and just come up with a system, a plan where, you just, like I said, every month, you just put a little bit into Bitcoin and you forget about it. And the beauty of that strategy is that if the price of Bitcoin goes up, oh, your net worth went up. Be happy. If it goes down, well, guess what? Your purchasing power just went up, meaning you can buy more Bitcoin with the same amount of money next month. So get excited. So it's like you're happy both
Either ways,
ways.
it's a win-win.
It's a win-win. Yes. And obviously that requires some level of like deep down conviction that long-term Bitcoin, will go up. And that was a thesis, that was an idea, I would say for us 10, 12 years ago. We really believed that was the case. It's been true. Obviously, it's gone from $10 to $100,000. And I believe more so even that in the world that we live in with money printing and all this. I was looking at a study yesterday where Fidelity predicted that each Bitcoin will be worth $1 billion. $1 billion. Like what? Like, could you imagine $1 billion?
My mind
But
is
the whole study, yeah. But the funny thing is the whole study wasn't even based on Bitcoin. It was actually based on fiat and like the collapse of fiat. See, the funny thing is it's not Bitcoin that's going up in price. Like I said, the Bitcoin protocol has no reference of price. It just is. Instead, what's happening is that the ice cube that we know to be fiat is melting in front of our eyes. It's melting, and it's like they're just they come up with another reason. Oh, this year it's COVID, next year it's a war, next year it's some other reason, and they just come up with reasons to print more and more and more money and essentially
the value
devalue
depreciates.
the dollars and thereby pumping up the price of Bitcoin. So I don't know what the hot, like that North Star is anymore. Like I said, people like Michael Saylor say 50 million. That sounds super bullish. People like Fidelity are saying $1 billion. To me, that sounds super bullish. But do I know that it's going up from here? I mean, I feel like it's very much likely. And like I said, dollar cost averaging. Now, that wasn't going to be the advice I suggest. One thing I've been thinking a lot about, Suhasini, and people ask me, it's like they ask me about Bitcoin, and I've been talking about Bitcoin for 12 years. But there's one thing that I've been going deeper into over the last, I would say, 2 years, which is how do you earn more Bitcoin, right? Like how do you actually earn more Bitcoin? Like what do you have to do to make more Bitcoin? Like, okay, let's say you're buying 1,000 rupees already. You're already doing that every month. But now you want to upgrade to 10,000 rupees a month. How do you do that? Or maybe you want to do 100,000 rupees. How do you do that? How do you actually get your hands on more Bitcoin? And the solution I came to is quite interesting, I think. By the way, are we at the end of our interview? Should I save this one maybe for the next one? I know we're going to start doing this maybe weekly, but sorry, I kind of lost track of time.
Appear more often, yes.
We're going to do this more often. So I was going to say, I was going to go on a little rant. But maybe I'll just pause.
I am super free. Our listeners are
you want me to do it on this one? Okay, so again, some people have maybe, if they watch my stuff, they probably heard me say this, but maybe I'll just like touch on it today, but we can go deeper into it. And I find this kind of stuff, by the way, very fascinating, and it has nothing to do with charts and graphs. It has everything to do with you It has everything to do with like who you are and how do you essentially become the type of person to attract more Bitcoin into your life. That is, I think, a very interesting topic. And the and it's much deeper than even Bitcoin. It's in my view, it's more about becoming. And by the way, like everything I'm saying now, keep in mind that it's a bit exploratory. It's just me obviously trying to like make sense of this like visualization, this universe that we live in, right? And so again, take everything with a grain of salt. But I believe that in order for you to get more Bitcoin, you essentially need to become your best self. So
Absolutely.
yes, so to me, Bitcoin is really about becoming your best self. And then the question is how do you become your best self? So I've had, in my view, like some mind-boggling like realizations that seem super simple and normal, but I'm not gonna lie, like I didn't get the notice or whatever, but has completely changed my world. So I've narrowed it down to 3 things. Number 1 is waking up stupid early. So it's like 5 a.m. right now. I got up an hour earlier at 4 a.m. And I think you were asking me about this, weren't you? Somewhere
I know, yeah,
you were
we
asking
had
me
a
about this.
conversation
Yes,
about this.
yes. And so it's okay. I'm going to give my little like sales pitch on this, right? Maybe one person listening might adopt this, maybe not, but I used to be a night owl. Like, a lot of people I think are like, oh, I stay up late at night because that's when the kids are sleeping or that's when I have time. That's my time. And I used to be the same way, stay up till 1, 2, wake up the next morning at 9 o'clock before my first call, like be in a bit of a mess. Like, and the rest of the day, you're feeling like you're just trying to catch up. Like everything is moving faster than you and you can't, get ahead. So if you think of yourself as a video game character, when you wake up in the morning, as you can tell right now, my energy is like 100% because I just woke up, I had my coffee, I'm fasting, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to go swim, I'm going to do all these things. But in the morning, my energy is 100%. At the end of the day, my energy is 10%. It's like on red, it's like beeping, like you're about to, pass out. So
Shut down.
the question is, why would I make my time, my personal time, when I'm like fading out, when I'm like at red, when I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm dead? Why would I make that my time? Wouldn't it make more sense to make it my time when I'm at 100%? And not my employer's time, not my wife's time, not my friend's time, but my time would be when I'm at 100%. So right after I finish this live stream, I'm going to pack up and I'm going to go to the gym and I'll be there with like 5 other people. And it's a massive gym, but there'll be like 5 people there. But it's beautiful. It's amazing. So, number 1, and again, I think this is super important, waking up early. Number 2 is, so it turns out that feeling good is super important. If you're going throughout your day and you feel bad, like you feel lazy, you feel tired, you feel sick, you feel sad, you feel negative, chances are you're going to go out throughout your day and you're going to probably attract a little bit of that negativity. Does that make sense? Like when you're feeling
It does,
down, you
it
just,
does. You do
right. So,
attract and you do spread that, that
and you
negativity,
spread
that
that.
sadness.
And yeah, and you could even try not to, like, oh, I don't want to be that negative person in this meeting, but you got up late. Your health is still suffering. You ate that
Probably missed
massive
your
meal before.
breakfast and you're so annoyed
You
about
maybe had a
that.
huge breakfast, right? And so you can't help it. But so what do you do is the question you asked me, right? Last week, Sunday, you wake up at
Yes.
4 every morning. What do you do? So I essentially, this is the second hack, is I maintain a habit tracker, and that could be a piece of paper with like 10 habits, or it could be something software, but I maintain a habit tracker where I have a list of things that I know that if I do, I feel better, right? For me, it's things like weightlifting, swimming, walking, calling my mom, meditating, journaling, yoga. I mean, I could, hitting the bags. Like for me, I've found now after 40 some years of being alive, certain things that serve me. And none of those things are easy, by the way. None of those things are like, oh, I can't wait to go lift 300 pounds with my legs. It's like hell. But guess what? When you go and you do like the really, really hard things first thing in the morning and you come and you sit down for your work at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m., it's just trivial. It's like so much easier, right? Like, how is a Zoom call going to make you stressed out if you were just swimming 20 laps, or you're doing a cold plunge, or you're sitting in the sauna, right? So front load your day, wake up early, do the things. And it could be, you don't have to go to a gym. You could just go for a walk around your neighborhood, do push-ups, do sit-ups. And then the final thing, and maybe, we can close out, or if we, I don't even know, I forget the timing here, but is this idea called visualization, right? So it turns out that all the best athletes in the world, like the Kobe Bryants of the world when he was alive, God rest his soul, all these, like the best, the top performers, business performers, they do this thing called visualization. And visualization is simply the art of closing your eyes and imagining your best self. And this is like the cherry on top. And and I apologize if people tuned into listening to trading tips, right? But to me, it's like, if you can't fix yourself, you're not going to find some simple hack that's going to make you all of a sudden, like, it starts with you, right? But this visualization thing is, in my view, like, it's like a Bitcoin like discovery, right? So it turns out that when you close your eyes and you imagine your best self, your body doesn't know the difference between past, present, and future. And it actually, at like a quantum, at a scientific, at electronic, at a molecular, at a chemical, at a spiritual, at every level, you start to become that person. Isn't that crazy? So you can close your eyes and you imagine your best self, like that six-pack mansion, whatever your dream is, right? If you can imagine it in your mind and hold that imagination, and then also feel what it would feel like to be there, all of a sudden these like chemicals start like unleashing throughout your body, and you start to become that person. And I think if you can do that regularly every morning, wake up early, do the hard things first, plan your day, right? And then go and actually visualize and sit there for 10 minutes, meditate, whatever it is. I don't know, maybe 2026 will be a bit, different for you. I know 2025 has been for me. And anyways, hopefully that's helpful. But yeah, we'll save it for another one.
Okay, so as we discussed, let's start like a mini series, or like let's have another session about just this, because I would love to hear more about this. So we will be ending our session for today. Thank you so much, Sunny, for tuning in with us, and thank you for all the users who are here today. So as this was an AMA after a very long time, you all know that our app has multiple features that we just discussed. So crypto is not just about trading. You can earn interest, you can do the SBP, there's crypto basket. So please look more into that on our app. So learning is the best investment, as Sunny just told you. So subscribe, and be ready for the next AMAs, as we are going to do it very regularly from now on, and trade responsibly with Uno Coin. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Take care.